My life as a college football player was simple. Just show up. Even before football started, my thoughts about football, college football, was just the freedom. Like what I saw in movies, the kids going out, doing whatever they wanted, skipping class. I think it was exactly how I pictured it to be. I had freedom, way too much freedom, but in the sense of like, I wasn't used to being able to like, if you want to go here, you can go here. Like we had choices and they all came with consequences. Let me backtrack. I didn't even think I was gonna go to college. I didn't even know what I was gonna do after high school. I had no plan, but God gave me a plan. Honestly, I'm telling you, I don't know how Missouri Southern State University saw me and I was able to go on a recruiting trip. And so that was my first little taste of what college was gonna be like that I didn't see from movies. And going on that trip, it was like they made sure you were well taken care of. Like even the players, they had like the best players on the team, show you around. You know, they got your locker set up with your jersey. Like, oh, this is the number you wanted, right? This is gonna be you. And so it always gives that vision, like, oh man, I ain't gonna be here. Like that was the only school who had offered me. And then they had the party. The party was good. They had college girls coming up too. I felt like, man, I can't wait to go to college. I can't wait. This is how it's gonna be. This is how it's gonna be. And so entering college for the first time and having that structure, man, that structure played a huge part. And I didn't even know. It's like they give you an outline of what you need to do, you know? I'm waking up certain days, we had workouts, so we waking up like 5, before the sun's up. Everybody half dressed coming in, half awake. So some days waking up at 5, having enough time to go back home, shower, go to the cab, eat some breakfast, see the lady, Mama D, that's what they call her, Mama D, the lady at the front. She greeted all the football players. All the football players knew who she was, and just eating the usual, whatever they have for breakfast, usually like sausage and egg. I used to turn everything into a sandwich. And just having that structure, always drinking apple juice. I was a huge apple juice fan, drinking apple juice. And then had my first class, and everything was just laid out. You just had to show up and execute, the classes. And then the only freedom you had was like a little downtime in between classes or, before practice. And usually that's when I would get my naps in, folks would get them naps in, or, just chill, be in the calf, chilling with the teammates, the guys before practice and the meeting started. Like even the practices had structure. They had laid out what was going to be covered in practice. If it was just a film day, if it was just different kinds of practices. You had walkthroughs, you had 7-on-7s. When you had people playing as the defenders, so you're on scout team, you had people playing scout team, stuff like that. So just having all that lined up for you and knowing what to do, the games, even the game schedule is lined up, knowing what time you go out, what time your group goes out, what time the whole team goes out, game ready. Even with the workouts, even with the workouts came structure with what to do during those workouts. Like it was tailored to our goals and how what we did on the field was going to translate, from the gym. So we really didn't have to think about working out. We didn't have to think about what exercise we had to do. It was just given to us. We just had to do it. Everybody doesn't want to work out all the time, but we had to. You did have those players who skipped workouts and they would be punished, and nobody want to be looked at as the person who's skipping workouts. Especially, as a college football player, as a man, I feel like, man, why are you trying to skip workouts? But like back in the day, it wasn't really looked at like that. It was just like, dang, you skipping workouts. But like now looking back, like, man, why are you skipping workouts? Don't you want to be better? And so you really just didn't skip workout. You just showed up whether you felt like it or not. You almost like football gave you that standard, like you had to be there. No matter what. So that accountability too is like, you had the coaches, you had the teammates, you had the strength coach, just everybody, holding you accountable, making sure you were able to do what you're supposed to do, just you didn't go in this by yourself. And having that structure laid out, it kind of had that accountability built in with it as well. And so, when football was done, I was still in school. I still had a year left, and so I was already graduated. I mean, I already done with football. You know, I knew I was gonna have so much more freedom. I knew I was sleeping sometimes. You know, usually days we have meetings. I'm going to Chick-fil-A. And then there wasn't all these classes I had to go to. Just like only a little bit left so I could graduate. And so it was really a breeze, and I didn't think about what I was gonna do that day. I was just going with the flow. Like I knew I had more freedom, and I just didn't know what each day entailed because I wasn't used to having like the freedom to where I could do whatever I wanted. It was just like going in football. In football, I had that freedom, but you know you had that structure laid out. You know you had people holding you accountable. When I was done with football, but I was still in school, you know, there was nobody really holding me accountable. It really was just me and just showing up. And so it was easy to just sleep in or skip classes or just be like, it's all right. I already kind of know what to do. And so I didn't even like think about it at the time, but it was just so easy to fall into distractions, especially with women with girls at the school. You know, you staying over each other. You know, having that freedom. It was like, man. And so leaving football, leaving college, I did not know what I was going to do. I did not know. I didn't have a plan. Just like I didn't have a plan about after high school, I did not have a plan after college. And so I was just looking up jobs. I'm like, sales jobs, but I was too scared to talk to people, so I didn't want a sales job like that. I wanted a sales job to where I could help businesses grow, and because my major was in marketing, so I got a job doing logistics where I would reach out to carriers, to different truck drivers, getting their ETAs, getting their updates on their drives, make sure they get to their destination on time, and then, you know, making appointments and things like that. And I did not think I would be doing that, you know. I just felt like that was the way to go. I didn't have any plans after college. And so I was like, all right. I thought the plan was just get a job like everybody else after college. And not having structure but I knew that I still wanted to keep working out. I knew I needed to get a job. And that was really it. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life after college. After college football. And so I got a job. I kept working out, but like the routine, you know, I definitely missed days. It really didn't hurt me. I really didn't have any goals. My biggest goal was probably just make sure I didn't get big, I didn't get fat. And so I would do abs every day, thinking that was the way to stay skinny, to keep my stomach flat. You know, I didn't do any research on how to, you know, how to stay skinny, how to stay in shape. There we go. How to not get fat. And so I would work out, and I would do whatever. I didn't have a plan. I didn't follow no strict plan. No, I didn't really know about progressive overload. I didn't know how to build muscle. Really, I just did the same weights, same workouts most of the time, just freestyling all the time. And then, you know, not really having anybody keep me accountable. It was easy to skip days, easy to miss days. And then my food, I'm eating whatever. I'm eating crazy, I'm drinking alcohol, I'm going out, I'm having a good time. And so, you know, me getting in the gym, I'm probably not even seeing results. I'm probably barely seeing results. And that's because I didn't have any structure, you know? I didn't know following a plan was the best way to go for me. I didn't think about needing a food. I didn't think about needing a meal plan. I didn't think about the food I was eating, you know, how drunk I was getting, how often I was getting drunk. And really, it's so easy, man, not having structure to just get caught up in everything and just wanting to do everything and get distracted, and the women and the drugs and, you know, just hanging out and wanting to fit in and not really having any guidance, really having nobody to like look up to as well. So you're just, you know, you do what you see on social media, you do what your friends are doing, and it's easy to get caught up in. And then you look back and be like, man, what am I doing? Like, what's going on? And that's when, like, a part of me was like, man, I need to do something. I need to change, because I don't know where I'm going. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just waking up and just going through the motions. because I wasn't really seeing results. I was working hard. I was working out hard, and I was barely seeing results. And I was like, man, what's going on? And then with just life, man, I'm like, women just coming and going. It's not really fulfilling. Not even feeling like, man, what am I, like, purpose? Like, what is my purpose? And it all came down to like that structure. Like, am I setting myself up to be the man I want to be? And the way I just had to sit with myself. I had to really focus. So I had to sit with myself. I had to realize, like, Jock, you gotta let some things go. What do you want? Like, I had to ask myself questions like, what do I want? Where I want to be? What do I want to do? What is my purpose? You know, and during that time, man, I got close with God. I don't think it was as close as I am now with him, but you know, I was reading scriptures here and there. I was reading a book with a different scripture every day, and you know, just attitude changed. You know, I felt like I was always a positive person, but you know, using these gifts that I was blessed with, you know, to really help build the person I am today, I had to really figure out what I wanted to do, and that's why I use my Sweat Goals system today to help other people do the same. You know, I had to sit with myself, I had to find out what works for me. I had to do the little boring tasks that was gonna move the needle forward, you know? Like sleep, man, I realized how important sleep was. And so, you know, I had to make myself go to sleep. I had to make my schedule to line up to where I was getting enough sleep to be able to perform better the next day. You know, I had to eat a certain way. I had to change the way I ate. Man, that was big, man. That was hard. And during that moment, man, I got caught up and developed bad relationship with food. Started binge eating to the point to where, man, my stomach was tight. And I was gassy. And having to lean on my structure, the things I put in place that I had to do and had to show up for myself. You know, and you know, it wasn't perfect, but it was definitely a vision that I had made for myself and knowing what I had to do to get there. And you know, I go in, like, if you're, I got it, how do I change this? Yeah, and once I started implementing these things, I started seeing changes in myself, in my physique. You know, the goal at first was just to look a certain way. I wanted to look a certain way. I wanted to lose my love handles. I wanted to look a certain way. And then the mental part came afterwards, you know. I was like, excuse me. And afterwards I was like, oh man, I like the way I feel. I like the confidence. And so I wanted other people to feel the same way. And so that's when I started, you know, looking into ways on how I could help other people as well. And in that process, you know, working on myself, seeing the results, doing the small, boring tasks like sleep, drinking water, getting my protein in, getting 10,000 steps. It was definitely a challenge, but it was so worth it. Like, just to look back and see the standard I had set for myself. And so my Sweat Goals system is exactly that. It sets a standard for yourself. You know, every day you're setting an intention to be a greater person. You know, who do you want to be at the end of this? Who do you want to be at the end of this? And so I have 4 phases I go through. My gold standard that sets the foundation. Earn the gold, that's building the momentum from the foundation you set. And you got sweat proof. The work that you've been putting in, you know, we're seeing it work, and we're seeing the results from the work that we've been putting in. And then we got sweat gold status. That's the last one. That's a phase that we can stick with this and make this a lifestyle. That's where you're able to still be able to stay on track, you know, when life starts lifing hard. And so if you're struggling, if you're needing some guidance, if you know you're not where you want to be, and that structure, I'm telling you, that structure, Sweat Goals system is for you. And definitely reach out, DM me, comment, and just let me know if you need some guidance, and I can definitely reach out and we can talk about how we can get you there.